Once again, I'd like to welcome everyone to our few minutes together on the Parsha. This week's Sedra is Parshas Shelach, which speaks about the sending of what were known as the Meraglim, the spies, to the land of Israel prior to the Jewish people's entering. The sending of the spies in and of itself was somewhat suspect from the very beginning on, as it mentions at the beginning, Shlach lecha anashim, send for you. For me, it's not necessary. Hashem said, God told us, the land is Eretz Zavas Chalav V'Davash. It's a land flowing with milk and honey. You're going to be able to go in and conquer it. And unfortunately, this chapter deals with the Lashon Hara that the spies said about the land of Israel. And to our great misfortune, that bad speaking about the land of Israel brought about that the Jewish people for 40 years had to wander in the desert and were not able to go in to the land of Israel. And to this day it stands out as a lesson for all of us about the way we should discuss, think, or speak about the land of Israel. One of the heroes of the story is, of course, Kalev. There were two of the great Meraglim, two of the princes that were the heads of the Jewish people that spoke positive. One was Yehoshua and one was Kalev. And as the Mefarshim point out, Yehoshua himself was given a special bracha that Ko Yoshi Acha Me'atzas Meraglim, God should save you from the advice of the spies. And Moshe gave this blessing to Yehoshua and called his name Yehoshua, because until then it was Hosea and now it's Yehoshua. Kalev was not given this bracha. How did he possibly resist the overwhelming pressure of his peers to speak out and do that which was right? So the pasuk tells us that Vaya'alu vayosuru es ha'aretz, right by Sheni, they went up and they toured out the land. Mimidbar Tzin ad Rechov Levo Chamos, from the desert of Tzin until coming to Hamas. Vayalu vanegev, and they went up, because they were below the Negev, they went up to the Negev. Vayavo ad Chevron. Now it doesn't say Vayavo u. It doesn't say they came. It says Vayavo. He, Kalev himself, came to Chevron, and as Rashi points out, he went to daven there at the Kever Avos, at the graves of the patriarchs. All the way back then, Chevron was already known as the burial place of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and our claim to the city of Chevron goes all the way back to when Avram purchased it for Sarah, and Avram and Sarah, and Yitzchak and Rivka, and Yaakov and Leah are buried there. And Kalev went to daven at the grave of the patriarchs, that they should give him the strength to be able to resist the temptation to go along with the majority because of the pressure that it exerts. And he was successful. He was greatly successful, so much so that later on in Chumash Devarim it tells us that Chevron was given to Kalev. It's in Shoftim, it's mentioned in Devarim. Kalev got Chevron as a reward because he had this tremendous ability to resist all that was around him doing the wrong thing. This ability to resist comes from our forefathers. It comes from Avraham, who was known as Ivri, because he was on the other side of the river. And even though everyone was a certain way, Avraham was able to move himself diametrically opposite to everyone else and look at them and say, this is not for me. This is not the way a human being should live. And in his footsteps, of course, followed Yitzchak and Yaakov especially, who his whole life was fighting to keep the nature of who he was strong, despite all the vicissitudes of life that were thrown his way, whether it was Esav or Lavan or the event with Yosef and having gone to Egypt at the end of his life. Yaakov followed in the footsteps, and Kalev followed in those footsteps too, and therefore he was given Chevron. When we speak today about the city of Hebron. And the whole world is speaking about the idea that it's occupied territory. That's a terrible mistake and misnomer. We just had the privilege this week of going to the One Israel Fund dinner, where Ambassador Baker spoke about the fact that legally, based on the Levy Commission report, this belongs to the Jewish to the Jewish people, certainly, and certainly not to anyone else, legally. And how can we be strong to claim Hebron as our own? Because we need to adopt the ideas that Kalev had. Kalev went to the forefathers and he prayed for the strength that they had. And we, in our leadership today, over the people of Israel, the land of Israel, we need that kind of leadership, that which can stand up and go according to the teachings of our forefathers, pray at their gravesite, be observant of the ideas of being Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, being like Kalev, and then the land will be given to the Jewish people that rightfully deserve it. What a powerful idea about the land of Israel and the possession of the Jewish people of the land of Israel. Let's do the best we can to emulate Kalev and also be blessed with the gift of the land of Israel and the city of our patriarchs, Hebron, rightfully in the hands of the Jewish people. Have a wonderful Shabbos.